Hey boys and girls, today we are going to do our lesson. We are back in our module 1 through 9 book. I know that we went to the 10 through 20 and now we're back to the 1 through 9. I'm sorry, I know you're having to keep up with 3 books, but the way that our pacing guide goes, it didn't quite match with our book, so we had to jump to the second one. So we're back in module 1 through 9, and today we're doing page 17. We're going to start talking about multiplying one-digit numbers. And I know that mine is a little smaller, but you should be able to follow along in your book. We're on page 17. You guys have been multiplying. You started that last year. So this should be more of a review for you, but I want to remind you guys to play reflex. We only have it for a short amount of time. It's very helpful for you to understand those facts as we're multiplying, and once we start dividing, it's going to be very helpful for you to quickly know those basic facts, so that's not something that's stumping you as you're getting into larger numbers. And we will begin to multiply decimals and divide decimals, and so we're going to add some steps to what you already know how to do. So if you are familiar with your basic facts, that's going to be one less challenge for you. So please, if you can, get on reflex and play that and practice those basic math facts. Okay, so today we're on page 17. We are multiplying one-digit numbers. I want you guys to follow along with me in writing in your book. Let's read number 1. Ada walks 1,274 steps once around her neighborhood. If she walks around her neighborhood 3 times, how many steps does she walk? Alright, so I'm being given some information. First, Ada's walking 1,274 steps. And that's how many steps just one time around her neighborhood. But she's walking around her neighborhood 3 times. So I know that those are important values that I need to keep in mind. How many steps does she walk? So another way that we could word that is say, how many steps is she walking altogether? Or how many steps is it when she walks 3 times? Okay, so first it tells you to estimate. Now remember how we've been talking about finding the reasonableness of answers? That's just finding an estimate. And there are so many good reasons that we should practice doing that, because it helps us to make sure that what we solved makes sense. I'm sure there have been times that y'all have made a simple mistake on a problem, but it really does change the value of it, and you may look at it and say, wait a second, that can't be right, okay? So that's what estimating is helpful for. It helps us to get an idea of what our answer should be close to. So when I estimate, and when you estimate, I encourage you to estimate to an amount that is easy and fast for you to do in your head. So when I'm rounding 1,274, or really any value, I like to round to the greatest value. So in this case, that's the thousands. Okay, so I have 1,274. So in my mind, I think, okay, is 1,200 closer to 1,000, or is that almost 2,000? And I know that that's almost 1,000. So I'm going to write that right there on the A. But I know that she does about 1,000 steps 3 times. And quickly in my mind, I know 1,000 times 3 is 3,000. Now another thing I like to keep in my mind is when I rounded or estimated, I made my value smaller this time. So I know that my answer should be close to 3,000, but I also know that it's going to be greater than 3,000. Maybe not a ton greater, but it shouldn't be less than 3,000 because I already rounded my answer down, so it's going to be bigger than that. So that's another good thing to keep in my mind. But if I was to solve my problem and I got the answer 274, that would help me say, wait a second, 200 is way far away from 3,000. So I must have done something wrong. So I always encourage you to estimate and have a good idea in your head of what your answer may be. Okay, so now we're going to go through these steps. We're going to go through these steps in B, and then I'm going to show you another way that we're solving this. Now, One thing I want to remind you guys is that as we're multiplying, this is not just 3 times 4 and 3 times 7 and 3 times 2. We've talked a lot about place value, and we know that these numbers represent different values, so we're going to discuss that as we're multiplying. Alright, so it starts by saying multiply the ones. Alright, 3 ones times 4 ones would be 12. Now, it says regroup. I'm regrouping my 12 ones because here is my ones place. I don't want to put 2 digits in this one box. I have a 10 and 2 ones. So that's why my 1 is coming here above the 7, because I have 1 10 and 2 ones. Does that make sense? Okay. Next, I'm saying 3 times, not 7, 7D. This is 7D, it's in the tens place. So 3 times 7D, I know 3 times 7 is 21. So 3 times 7D would be 210, because I know I'm increasing by 10. And I have another 10 here, so it's 3 times 7D is 210, plus another 10 would be 220. Alright, so when I have the amount 220, I have no ones, I have 2 tens, but I have 2 hundreds, because 220, I have 2 hundreds. Just my 2 goes down here because that's all the tens that I have. So next I'm saying 3 times 200, which I know is 600, plus 2 more hundreds would be 800. I'm not carrying anything because my 800 is correct. And then 3 times 1,000 is 3,000. So, I forgot to do this while we were talking about it. Multiply the tens. So, we had 21 tens plus 1 10 is 22 tens. Sorry about that, y'all. We had, oh, there goes my lights. We had 600s plus 2 more hundreds, which gave us 800, and then thousands. So we solved that she walked 3,822 steps. Okay, I want us to look back at these steps, and I want us to discuss something else, because I really want you guys to understand what's happening while we're multiplying. Okay, so just like we said that 3 times 4 was 12. I'm going to write 12 right here. Next we said 3 times 70, and we said that would be 210, because 7 times 3 is 21. 7D times 3 would be 210. Next we have 3 times 200, which is 600, and 3 times 1,000, which is 3,000. I didn't do any carrying or anything like that because I listed the entire number as it was. So when I add these up, I still get the answer 3,822. So boys and girls, what you're doing here is this. We're just representing it a different way. I think a lot of times we've been told, you know, carry a 1, regroup, but we don't really understand why we're doing that. So I hope as we're learning this, we're going to break it down so you're actually seeing, oh, that's what we're doing, okay? So now it says, how do I know if my answer is reasonable? Think about the estimate we made. We estimated about 3,000, but we did say that we knew our estimate was smaller than the real answer. So, do you think our answer is reasonable? Yes, because it is close to our estimate. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's keep going. Let's turn to page 18. I have it right here. All right, it says Michael walks to and from school each day. The round trip, so that means to and from. So the round trip is 4,206, What is the total distance he walks to and from school in 5 days? All right, so I'm just kind of rethinking what I just read. Every day he's walking this many steps, and he's going to do that for 5 days. So I'm wanting to know the total distance. That's meaning that combined value. I want to know Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You know, there's a lot of ways we can think. What does this mean? Again, let's estimate first. Let's do a very easy, quick estimate so we can have an idea of what a reasonable answer would be. All right, so again, this number's in the thousands place. I like to round to the greatest value just because it's simpler. So if I have 4,206, I think, am I closer to 4,000 or am I closer to 5,000? And I'm closer to 4,000. So I'm going to write down 4,000, but I know I'm doing that for 5 days. I'm saying 4,000, 4,000, 4,000, 4,000, 4,000. Now I know just plain old 4 times 5 is 20. So if I had 4,000 times 5, that's going to give me that 20,000. So he's walking a lot of steps. So my answer should be near 20,000, but again, we decided to round lower. So I know my answer should be larger than 20,000. Okay, so let's come over here and let's multiply again. Now, this example says his solution is shown. This is Jason solving it. Work through the steps to solve and then determine his error. So we're going to look and see what error he might have made, and probably it's one that's that we might make on accident sometimes. All right, so first we're going to multiply our ones like it tells us. Okay, 5 times 6 we know is 30. We have 0 ones because we have the number 30. That's 3 tens. Okay. I see that Jason also got that. So he didn't make an error there. All right, next, I'm multiplying my 5 times 0 tens. Well, if I have no tens, then that's going to be 0. But don't forget, I put my 3 tens here that I couldn't represent in the ones place. So I'm going to put my 3 tens there, and I see that Jason did not do that. So I'm going to circle his tens place. But I'm going to come back and I'm going to keep solving. Next, I have 5 times this 2, which represents 200. So if I have 5 200 times, or if I have 200 5 times, I know that that's going to give me 1,000. I don't have any hundreds here. I have 1,000. Okay? And then 5 times 4,000, we just did that. We know it's 20,000, but don't forget, I have another 1,000 up here, 21,030. So that's our total distance, 21,030. And what error did Jason make? He forgot to add in his, we can say, carried or regrouped tens. He forgot those tens up there, which is easy to do. One thing I do, and now in your example there's a box, but when I just do this normally on my own, I always circle what I carry, so it just helps me to remember it. Alright, so let's look at number 1 down here on check understanding. Alright, first we're going to estimate. Again, this should not take long. This should be so fast. 868, I'm going to round to 900 times 4. I know that 9 times 4 is 36, so 900 times 4 is going to be 3,600. Very quick estimate. That's all it should be. It shouldn't be 5 minutes for you to estimate it before you start to solve it. The whole point of an estimate is a quick answer in your mind. All right. So let's start solving it. 4 times 8, I know is 32. I have 2 ones, I have 3 tens. 4 times 6, which is 60. So I know that 4 times 6 is 24, so really that's 240. I'm adding 3 more tens, that's 270. So I'm going to put those 7 tens, and I'm going to carry those 200s over there to the 100 place. 4 times 8, or 4 times 800 is 3,200 plus your two other hundreds, 3,400. So I'm gonna get 3,472. If it's helpful for you to do it this other way, we had our 32, 4 times 60 was 240, and our 4 times 800 was 3,200. You're gonna get your same answer. It's just a different way of solving it. Okay? Let's do one more together. Alright, let's estimate number 2. 4,800, I'm gonna round that to 5,000. 5,000 times 8. Well, I know 8 times 5 is 40. So that's 5,000 times 8, that's gonna be 40,000. Okay? So, being in my working out, 8 times 5, we just said was 40. I have no 1s, I have 4 10s. 8 times 0 10s, there are no 10s, so that's 0. But I did have my 4 10s up here from last time, so I'm going to bring those down. Hope you guys can see. Excuse me. 8 times 800, well, 8 times 8 is 64. So 8 times 800 is going to be 6,400. And I'm going to carry that 6. And 8 times 4,000, 32,000. Remember, I've got these 6, 38. Okay? Alright. So, again, you guys have done this before. This should be kind of a review. We're going to keep going slowly as we do this. I want you guys to do those practice problems in your book. That is page 7. In your homework book. Remember, we're just doing the odd ones, but do think of an estimate before you get your answer to see if what you solved is reasonable.